It's been a while since I made a Yapping session podcast. I guess I've just been busy with other things. And given that right now I'm kind of just on a walk outside, I figured, why not? It's a perfect time of not really having anyone around. You can just talk freely. So why not? I'll record. There's going to be a bit of background audio, obviously, because I'm outside and not in a quiet room. But that's fine. I don't really remember what I talked about last time. It's been a while. And I should re-listen to my own podcasts more. Just see what slightly past me was thinking about at any given moment. A few people have been asking me to make another yapping session, so I figured I should do it eventually. I don't know. Well, where am I at right now? I am starting my second semester of college. It's honestly still kind of crazy to think that after 18 years, I was finally out of high school. Now I'm in college. It's school I have to pay for. Luckily, I have government financial aid, and I'm taking classes at a slow enough rate at community college that it's all covered, which is quite nice. I don't know if that's going to continue to happen based on the fact that my parents both have jobs now instead of just one of them having a job. But we'll see. I have been learning to drive. That's one thing. I've been learning to drive, and I have my learner's permit now. And I plan on getting a job soon so I can have my own income. High school, things did change a bit. It's kind of weird not waking up every single day to be dressed for high school. See things I don't see at all. Almost entirely new people. I've seen a few people who I've already seen before here and there. But it's for the most part new faces, which it's complicated because it hurts to not see all the people that you've grown accustomed to hanging out with every day, but at the same time it's also an opportunity because, meet new people, make new friends, and I have been. I'm not exactly a person who can make friends very easily. Definitely graduating and leaving that. I did end up breaking up with my girlfriend in high school. More like she broke up with me over a Google document after ghosting me for months. So that hurt a lot for a while. I mean, I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, so it doesn't hurt too bad anymore. It's just kind of, I think the most frustrating part was that all of the time spent with that relationship could have been used for a different relationship that maybe would have gone better or have been more fulfilling or deeper. Because it wasn't a deep relationship. There was not a whole lot of emotional fulfillment there. She wasn't really someone that could be there for me emotionally at any deep level. Which is something she mentioned in her fucking Google Doc breakup, which is quite possibly one of the worst ways I've ever seen to break up with someone, ghosting them for a few months, then being like, hey, I couldn't tell you at the time, but this is a Google Doc that I wrote, and it's why I broke up with you. I can't even text it here. It has to be a Google Doc, because yeah, I just can't bear to actually have a conversation. I have to Google Doc on you. And I think another really annoying part of the entire thing was the fact that I didn't really do anything wrong. It just happened, I guess. There wasn't really anything I could have done to make it not happen. I guess we just weren't made for each other. And the thing is, if I hadn't been in that relationship, I could have found someone who was maybe a better match for me during high school. But now that high school's over, that's not really an opportunity I have anymore. But, on the bright side, I can find someone in college now. And I guess now that it's an older age group, we'll be more emotionally mature, and there will be higher quality relationships. Okay. So, for my first semester of college, I had taken philosophy. Philosophy is quite possibly the most fulfilling class I've ever taken in any, educational setting. I really love the topic of philosophy. It's like a mix of history, but also critical thinking. It's the critical thinking part that I really love, but the history behind it is also really, really good. Honestly, it was just such a fulfilling class. Yeah. So, one of the most interesting topics in philosophy, I think, it's a surprising one, but I'm a really big fan of, this idea of egoism and acting in your own best self-interests. And this idea that being nice could actually have selfish intent behind it. It sounds backwards, but basically the idea I'm getting at here is that if you're being nice to somebody, there's basically two different reasons you're being nice. Either A, you want something from them, you want them to do something for you later on, or B, it's for your own emotional satisfaction. Like, you feel good when you help people and are nice to them. And that is technically in a way selfish, and that's a philosophical idea that I'm really fond of. I think it's really interesting. Yeah. So, and then egoism, it's basically a moral code of sorts. Well, it's not one people would call moral, so to speak, but basically the idea that you should just do whatever is in your best self-interests and whatever pleases your ego or makes you happy or satisfied in life. I think it sounds selfish, but in a way, any act you do for your own enjoyment or self-fulfillment, fulfilling some kind of idea of a good soul, that's all selfish in a way. If you really think about it, so consider if you're religious and you believe that if you're a good person and you have a good soul, you will go to heaven when you die. Isn't that sort of selfish in a way? You're acting because you want to go to heaven. So, I don't know. It's just an interesting philosophical thought I quite like. And I think one of my least favorite thoughts about morality is sort of fuck, I forgot his name. Okay. was like his idea was like universal imperative or something. Hold on. I think it was like Kant or something. Kant. And it was categorical imperative. Right. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a big fan. I think the idea that if one action is immoral in some situations, it's always immoral is kind of ridiculous. I mean, there's a lot of people who have already poked many holes in categorical imperative as a code of ethics. The idea that lying is always unethical it's a bit extreme, to say the least. I don't think it applies in many cases. There are also holes in the ethics of utilitarianism, which is basically just doing whatever is going to be the most there's a society of psychopaths and they want to kill people. Killing people isn't happy. But I think the problem here is loopholes in utilitarianism like that, you kind of have to make up these extreme scenarios that are not very likely. But to poke holes in the categorical imperative, you don't really have to think that way. It's a thing that would happen a lot, like categorical it doesn't always fail. Like it fails a lot, but not nearly as much. I think the main part where utilitarianism would fail is that a government can't really follow utilitarianism. Because what would make the most people happy is giving them a ton of free shit. But it's not like we have the resources to let people have free shit without working. So utilitarianism kind of falls apart there. Because a lot of people don't really want to work and don't really want to work. So building somehow building a society where people don't would make a lot of people happy. It's not necessarily something that can be done. So utilitarianism doesn't really work for government, but it can work on an individual level. Like whatever's the most ethical is making people happy with the right decisions. There is an example I heard from someone against utilitarianism in which they basically decided if some guy is a transplant, and he's a guy that a lot of people think is sick, would it be okay to take organs from some loser living in a shack or whatever? Like, yes, that sure is an example. I don't think either of these ethical principles are exactly like 100% sound. They all have their flaws. But I could get behind utilitarianism before I could get behind the categorical imperative. The thing with the categorical imperative is that, like, you can't just, like, apply the same thing over and over to different situations. It's like trying to use a wrench for every single type of fastener. Sometimes what you need is a screwdriver, not a wrench. So having universal laws isn't really feasible. And I think sometimes there are situations where even his rule of using people as a means versus using people as an ends, I think there are cases where it would be the ethical decision to use someone as a means rather than an ends. Like, if you... I would need to think about this for a bit, because it's definitely one of those things where you have to think about a really dumb, specific example to debunk something. But the point is, it's kind of not really possible to make a rule that always applies and has absolutely zero situations where it shouldn't apply. That's not really something that I consider to be a feasible thing to do. I think there's always going to be some kind of niche, like, circumstance where a rule can't really apply, and it has to be broken in some way. So, to say that you have to follow a rule the same way every time to be ethical is kind of why I think the categorical imperative is a little bit dumb. Well, anyways. There's another topic that I've discussed it extensively on Discord, but I haven't put it in a yapping session yet, I don't think. And, I mean, I talk about the stories of different pieces of media a lot, so it's kind of fitting to also talk about it here. Anyone who knows me will know that I'm a really big fan of Portal. And Portal is a game that has a relatively small, like, size for its series. There's only really 2 games in its main series, but then there's like a few spin-offs by Valve. And the majority of the Portal playtime you're going to get is from, like, community content, modded fan games with whole campaigns. And I think there's a fan game that it has captivated my interest for a while, like 2 years. It released 2 years ago, and it's had my interest captivated the entire time. It's called Portal Revolution. And my interest is not on this mod because of what it does right, but because of what it does wrong. I think there's a lot to learn from it in terms of storytelling. And that's why I'm going to take a minute to dissect what it is that I think is so special about the way this mod tells its story. So, for a refresher, if you haven't played Portal 2 in a while, or just haven't at all, Portal 2 takes place after the first game. GLaDOS is shut down, and Wheatley, he wakes you up in the relaxation vault. Wheatley takes you through some test chambers. You get the blue only portal gun, the mono portal gun that can only shoot one portal. And he takes you to GLaDOS chamber. She's kind of just sitting there dead. He's like, we're gonna find the escape pods. He accidentally, because he's that dumb, manages to turn on GLaDOS. And she's awake now, alive, and has you test. Then halfway through, you escape. You go shut down the neurotoxin, shut down the turrets. You and Wheatley go confront her, and you switch out GLaDOS's head for Wheatley, and he takes control. He's corrupted by the power. He is straight up corrupted by the power, and he sends you plummeting down an elevator shaft all the way down to, like, the ancient basement area of Aperture, the oldest section of the facility, where you hear some recorded messages from K.O. Johnson. You find GLaDOS, who's been shoved in a potato. You go all the way back up to Aperture, the modern areas. He's taken over. He's all evil now, and you confront him in a boss fight. And you put a portal on the moon, right? And yeah. Wake up, Incoherent Sterling is like, it says you're part of the Human Emergency Response Team, and throughout the mod, your goal is to get to this place called the Spire, which is a thing that teleports nowhere. And the whole idea is that you're going to use the Spire to rebuild GLaDOS. Okay, so first major issue here. Your entire mission hinges on a plot point you already know. You already know that in Portal 2, GLaDOS is revived. So, the entire mission already hinges on something you know comes to pass anyways. It doesn't matter if you fail or succeed. GLaDOS is back anyways. Who cares? Okay. So, you get to the Spire, and it goes haywire. Things are out of control. because you brought your portal gun into the teleportation chamber, which there's a poster that says not to. Okay, so things don't go according to plan. You are teleported to the bottom of the facility, where you first hear pre-recorded messages from someone named Conley. And you find this core place where you inject a consciousness into a core, and now Conley is a core. Which, it sounded like a really interesting plot point, like having a person who used to be human, but now they're a robot. That sounds really interesting. I hope they do something awesome with that. And then after that, you and Conley go up to the surface where the Spire is like recharging, and she's like, "Oh no, I heard from the records that the Spire tests went really badly." Right, so yeah, the Spire tests, they went badly, so it's not safe. You're going to the surface to shut down the Spire with Conley. You get to the surface, and Sterling's there, and he's like, "Well, you're back, so we're gonna finish our little Spire thing, right? We're gonna teleport GLaDOS." And Conley's like, "Oh, you guys are the ones that turned on the Spire," and whatever. I don't really care that much about the individual things that happened here, because most of the dialogue and plot points at this point are just completely nothing burger, don't really matter. At some point, Conley is like, "Oh, we can't activate GLaDOS. That's so bad. We have to stop Sterling from activating GLaDOS." Okay, so that flips your mission. Your mission is no longer to rebuild GLaDOS. Your mission is to stop GLaDOS from being rebuilt. So now, instead of having absolute confirmation that somehow your mission comes true, now you have absolute confirmation that you fail. Okay, right. So now you know Sterling, the villain, well, he's the villain now. He wasn't before. He just became the villain by nature of you randomly. You don't decide it, because, you don't really control what the player thinks, or what the player's character thinks. You are the player, but you get what I mean. Okay, so Sterling's now your enemy. You don't really tell Sterling that. He just, at some point, assumes that you are now his enemy, and does the epic classic of betrayal, where the core companion from the beginning of the game is always fantasy. And then you break out of said trap, because it's really slow and poorly made. Walk down a few hallways, you're at the Spire, and now it's boss fight time. Oh wait, before the boss fight, we got some really epic exposition. Apparently Sterling used to be that was created by Conley. That's a pretty crazy coincidence. Oh, by the way, Conley hasn't really said anything about the fact that she's no longer human anymore. She's like, "Oh, it's kind of crazy being a robot because I don't have hands anymore." And that's the one thing she comments about the situation throughout the entire game. She just sometimes randomly comes up and says, "I don't have any hands." Is that really all you have to say? You don't have anything to say about the fact that you are a clone of someone, or even the original. Not only that, but you're a robot. You're not a human anymore. You have absolutely nothing to say about that? No, of course not. Dev commentary says that apparently she used to have a longer arc where she was more sad about not being a human anymore, but they cut it because the playtesters thought it was boring. And then, okay, so you have the boss fight. You're up against big bad Sterling inside the Spire. You fight back by pressing convenient giant red buttons. Okay, so this giant red button previously turned the Spire on. Now it detaches critical components of the Spire and makes it fall apart. What? Okay. We'll go with that. Okay, so the giant red buttons in every single control room make the cables that go to the Spire fall. Okay. And as you're doing that, random pieces of the different chambers from across the facility are teleported in. Pretty cool stuff. That's interesting. Makes for some decent gameplay for the finale, I guess. Throughout the entire boss fight, they are literally just screaming brain damage jokes at you. And when they're not screaming brain damage jokes at you, Sterling is like just having mommy issues or something. And then Conley's like, oh, I made a robot with mommy issues. That's so funny. I can't believe you're sad because I abandoned you for decades. You fucking loser. Okay. And then, like, Sterling starts making the brain damage jokes and calling the player brain damage. And Conley joins in, as if this bitch isn't supposed to be on our side. Like, you fucking traitor. Why are you making brain damage jokes at the player? You're supposed to be on our side. What the fuck? And they really just go on and on about it. It's insane. It's like, they're like, oh, I guess you just have a soggy brain and that's why you like pushing buttons so much, huh? You like the stimulus, you little brain soglet? It's like, what the fuck, guys? Okay, one of you is supposed to be on my side. And, like, okay. And then after that, you push all the buttons and deactivate the Spire. And now I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. Wasn't the Spire supposed to be the thing that brought GLaDOS in from the fucking parking lot back into the facility? But then I'm like, okay, so she doesn't get rebuilt in this game. She's not brought back. I thought maybe at least her parts would be teleported down and then you stop Sterling. So, like, GLaDOS could be in the building. So in Portal 2, you reactivate her because there is a discrepancy there. In Portal 1, she's, like, fucking eviscerated, blown all across the parking lot. Her guts are everywhere. Yeah. But then in Portal 2, she's back down in the facility again somehow. So it's like, okay, Revolution's trying to fix that discrepancy by teleporting her down. No, it just doesn't happen. So I guess the discrepancy is just still there. Fingers crossed for Catalyst, which is supposed to talk about that, I guess. And then the Spire randomly teleports you and brutally injured and the body is bleeding. Why? Oh, there's the best part. All of that bleeding out and test tube shit happens after the credits. So for any player who watched the entirety of the credits, basically they beat Sterling, right? And then the Spire's deactivated, and then suddenly there's like warbling energy, and the screen flashes white, and everyone's like, oh no! And then it just cuts the credits. Okay, so what the fuck happened? What is that ending? And I mean, it was worse at the time because there wasn't supposed to be a second Revolution. But they're making a second Revolution now, so I guess it's setting it up for the second game, right? But yeah, at the time there wasn't going to be Revolution 2, so it was just going to be a straight up permanent cliffhanger ending. You get brutally eviscerated and then thrown in one of those little green pods to like just sit there, and then Conley's like, my specialty is brains, not bodies. I'm not a doctor. I can't fix you up, so I'm gonna put you in this vault because we're trapped on the moon. Goodbye. It's like, okay, what a nice conclusion to this game. Okay, so there's a key critical thing beyond all the minor flaw with this plot line is the fact that player means nothing. You don't understand what I mean by that. Basically, like, so this is a key failing in the story. Your entire mission, it doesn't matter if you fail or succeed. You're not important to this story. Think about Portal 2. You are at the very center of the story. You, the protagonist, Shell, you are the story. Everything's revolving around you. You are of utmost importance. If you die, everyone else dies because you're that important. You are like the centerpiece of the story. And why I bring this up is because this is something Portal Stories Mel, another Portal fan game, also gets right. They get this right while Revolution does not. In Portal Stories Mel, the plotline is basically that you, a test subject named Mel, over there during the Cave Johnson era, you You're put into a sleep experiment where you're supposed to be in extended relaxation. It goes wrong. You wake up in the future. Core named Virgil is like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna get you out of there because I'm stuck in an office and I can't get up. I'm off my management rail. Oh no, big thing. So you don't really know what's going on yet. You're just going to find this supposed Virgil core guy, and then suddenly, big booming voice in the sky from the character named Aegis. He's like, 2 targets detected, flooding the fucking facility to kill you. Okay, so now you're immediately thrust into a very lethal situation. There is a evil AI actively trying to get you. There's danger now, okay? In Portal 2, there is always an AI that's like controlling the facility, out to get you. That's really dangerous. Mel has that too. It's Aegis. He's out to get you. He's very dangerous. He feels intimidating. It feels like he's always watching you, always about to get you. Just like in Portal 2, with how intimidating GLaDOS felt. Revolution doesn't have anything like this. The closest thing to a villain is Sterling, and he is not threatening. He's never one step away from getting you. The one time he tries to kill you, like, he opens the slowest floor in the world with a shredder beneath it, and you can just walk out. He never is a threat. And when your story hinges on the fact that there is an active threat that the player has to deal with, and your threat isn't actually threatening, that's a really big problem with the plot. Like, Revolution tries to have this thing where it has its cake and eats it too. It has its funny antagonist that's the butt of the joke, and also the antagonist is threatening. And here's the thing. Portal 2 does this with Wheatley. Portal 2 does this successfully, I might add. Wheatley is the butt of every joke. He's a fucking bumbling moron. But he's so powerful and has so much control over the facility that he's also a genuine threat. Like, he almost gets you so many times. Like, for example, at the very start of the joke, the part where he kills you, like, the crushers trigger right when you get off the platform. So it looks like if you were even like a second too late, you would have just been eviscerated there. It makes Wheatley an active, like, threat. He feels very threatening. He's powerful, and he feels like he's actually a fatal force that the player has to deal with. And if they don't deal with Wheatley, they're going to die. Sterling does not feel like this. Sterling does not feel like a threat. He's not actively looming over the player. He's actually just... He's basically just like the most pathetic character in any Pokemon ever. Like, genuinely. And you can't have this pushover character and also have them feel threatening. Because the way Portal 2 did it, his Wheatley being a moron made him more threatening because putting him in a position of power made him dangerous. Like, he's put as this, like, leader position over the entire facility, but he's a, like, bumbling idiot, so he's ruining everything. And the entire place is coming down, there's explosions and fire. It feels like imminent danger. But Sterling, he's not as dumb as Wheatley, but he's somehow less competent at being dangerous. Like, so he can control a few panels, I guess, but he's not very powerful, so he's kind of just basically push over, walk all over him threat. And during the boss fight, he's made even less threatening because they're like, oh yeah, he actually used to be a vacuum cleaner. He cleaned fucking toilets. And they made him so his entire personality during the boss fight is just raging like a baby or screaming about how he misses his mommy. Okay, yeah. You did the making him a loser part, right? You didn't do the making him an actual threat. And that's just part of the problem, though, because after you meet Aegis in Portal Stories Mel, he's like this booming voice in the sky, he's really threatening. You spend the entire game, you and Virgil are just like only a little bit ahead of Aegis. Like, he's about to get you at any given moment. Like, he's actively setting traps that you can visibly see. He's doing things to take control of different parts of the facility. He's trying to get you. And they masterfully set up a plot twist for the end when they say he's looking for 3 targets, 2 mechanical, 1 organic. There's 3 targets Aegis is after. And by the way, Aegis's character, he's like this old AI that's a security machine. Like he's the facility's security system. And I thought that was a pretty brilliant character idea. It makes sense why he has so much control over the facility, and it gives him a good motivation, but it also makes him a character that really can't be reasoned with. He's just a force of nature. So throughout the game, you do things like going to the overgrown testing track so there's plants around you so it can't scan for an organic target as easy. That's really smart. It feels like you're actively outplaying Aegis. You have to be smart to stop him. And I think the mod's difficulty helps with that as well, because Portal Stories Mel has really difficult puzzles. So while you're solving really difficult puzzles, Virgil's making plans to outsmart Aegis. And it really makes it feel like both you and the character you're with are doing a lot of work to get through this and to defeat Aegis. Okay, so throughout Portal Revolution, none of the characters actually do any work except for the player solving the puzzles, which is a big difference between it and Mel. Now, Portal 2, the characters don't really do work either unless they're the antagonists at that given moment, in which case they're doing a lot of work to literally like bring down the entire facility on top of you to murder you. Like, when GLaDOS and Wheatley are trying to kill you, they are trying to kill you. There's like no way around it. Like, they want you dead and you can feel that. Aegis wants you dead and you can feel that. Sterling wants you dead and utterly fails like a bumbling idiot and doesn't feel threatening at all. And I think that's basically part of the key failing of the plot. Now, here's the second part of what I mean when the player should be important. I don't just mean like the player should be in imminent danger. I mean the player's journey should be actually meaningful. So, in most stories, the main character will be on some sort of meaningful journey to accomplish some kind of goal. In Portal 2, that goal is, at first, you're just trying to escape, and GLaDOS is trying to stop you. But then your goal becomes to take down Wheatley once he betrays you, because if you don't take down Wheatley, the entire facility is going to explode from his incompetence. That's a pretty pressing, like, imminent danger type goal. You're trying to save the entire facility. That's a goal, okay? You have a goal. Portal Stories Mel, your goal is to take down Aegis before he literally floods the entire facility with acid and melts everything to kill you. Because Aegis has determined that there's no scientists alive to protect anymore, and his only goal is to get rid of the threats that were dangers. That's an imminent goal. You're doing something. Like, you are actively trying to prevent everything from getting melted by the corrosive acid. That's an imminent threat. So, in both Portal 2 and Portal Stories Mel, the player is on some kind of important mission against there's an important mission, there's a threatening antagonist trying to stop that mission. That's like cornerstones of most stories. Like, it's been that way since fucking Shakespeare. It's a system that's put in place because it works. All right? So, just to recap, here's what we got right now. We have Portal 2 and Portal Stories Mel. Both have pretty solid, like, plot structure. You introduce your main character, you introduce some kind of other character, you have a little bit of exposition, then later on, you have a threat that's introduced, and your goal is to stop the threat. In Portal 2, this introduction of a threat is done through a mid-game plot twist where Wheatley is the antagonist now after he betrays you. It's one of the most iconic scenes of gaming history. It's the most epic betrayal. Sets up the new threat. This is the antagonist, this is the threat. You have a hero and you have a villain. It's a very, very classic plot structure. You see this in many pieces of literature throughout history. Villain and hero, and they have to battle, and if the hero loses, bad things are going to happen. The hero has to win to save everyone. And Portal Stories Mel, you have a hero, you have a villain. There's stakes. If the hero loses, everyone's gonna die. So you better win, right? Okay. Revolution, though. Revolution. So throughout the first part of the game, there's no stakes. Then throughout the second part of the game, there's no stakes. Okay, there's just no stakes at all. The game attempts to add stakes by saying, oh no, if you use the spire, it's going to be unstable and it's going to be really dangerous. The problem is the spire is never actually shown as a danger beyond a few lines by Conway, who read some records. That isn't really... Okay, so this is another huge flaw in the storytelling. In Portal 2, you are shown the threat visually in your face. This is the threat. You are shown Wheatley when he becomes really evil. There's red lighting. He's laughing maniacally like, "Mwahaha." And he's like, okay, this guy's the villain. This guy's evil. This is a threat. In Portal Stories Mel, you actively see Agus setting up traps for you. You see him set up an elevator that goes into a fire pit. Some panels to try and trap you and trick you. So there's active threats going on. And at some point, like, Virgil, like, tries to bring in a test chamber that you can escape to, but then Agus moves the room out of the way. That's him actively doing stuff the player can see. It's establishing a threat. He establishes a threat visually through on-screen actions. Why are these... Okay. I have cats over here and they're meowing. I don't know why they're following me on my walk, but they are here. Okay. So, we have established on-screen threats, right? It's not just some dialogue that's saying that these characters are a threat. You can actively see it with your own two eyes. These guys, these are the villains. These are the big bads of the story. This is where the stakes are. If you don't stop these guys, bad things are going to happen. In Revolution, the spire isn't really shown to be unstable. At most, it's shown that you fucked up by bringing the portal gun in it and it accidentally teleported you somewhere it shouldn't have. Okay, that's not really unstable though, because it did successfully complete the teleportation without anything really being damaged. So, we're just told that the spire is really unstable and shouldn't be used because bad things are going to happen. We're never shown that bad things are going to happen because of the spire. Like, and that lack of visual storytelling in a video game is a pretty big problem. Now, okay, so I talked a bit about the hero having a mission, which is usually to defeat the villain, and there's a reason for wanting to defeat the villain, because the story gets its stakes from the reason the player has to defeat the villain, from their motivation. In Revolution, there's never really too big of a motivation to defeat Sterling, because it's not like Sterling is an active threat. He's not much of a threat at all, actually. Right, so you don't have a big motivation for defeating the villain. And there's also the really big pressing issue I mentioned about Revolution's lack of stakes earlier. It's the fact that, like, you know from the start what happens in the end. Right? To make this a bit more clear what I'm talking about, let's establish what happens if you win or lose in every single one of these Portal games I've been mentioning. So first off, Portal 2. If you win, everybody is saved and everybody's safe. If you lose, everybody blows up and it gets incinerated and dies. Okay, that's a pretty big difference. Let's check Portal Stories now. If you win, everybody is saved. If you lose, everybody drowns and dies and gets just dissolved by toxic goo. That's a pretty big difference. In Revolution, if you win, well, at the beginning of the game, if you win, GLaDOS gets rebuilt. If you lose, GLaDOS gets rebuilt by Portal 2's plotline anyways. Okay, so let's check the end of the game then. Okay, So by the end, if you win, well, I mean, presumably GLaDOS shouldn't be brought back. Sterling has proven himself to be even if you were to die if you lose in a brutal revolution, when you win, you get fucking brutally mangled anyways. Literally, you get fucked over no matter what. So, it just leaves you feeling really unsatisfied because there's literally nothing you could have done to make it, like, actually satisfying. You either lose and die, presumably, or you fail and get brutally mangled. Not just brutally mangled, but also stranded on the moon. You see the problem? This isn't satisfying. Don't get me wrong. Stories that don't have these ideas can work if they're done in it is written as if it's supposed to have stakes when there are no stakes. Revolution's plot doesn't work if the villain isn't threatening, it doesn't work if there's no stakes, and it doesn't work when the villain's random betrayal where he goes from your buddy to the villain, it falls flat, the entire plot crumbles because there are no stakes. Nothing in the mod matters. Your story doesn't matter. Your journey doesn't matter. You, the player, in this story do not matter. Bro, if Sterling literally got like a sticky slap hand, he could have had the entire events happen without you. With a little sticky slap hand. He just needed some way to push a red button a single time. That was his entire purpose for you. So, like, if you had arrived late or died during the middle of the game, he would have just teleported GLaDOS back and then Portal 2 would have happened. So, like, fuck, what gives? And I mean, I've spent a lot of the time here just ranting about Portal Revolution. It's obviously a topic I'm quite passionate about, if you couldn't tell. But, like, it's just annoying because a lot of these are issues that could have easily, like, been avoided. Just, I hope the second Revolution game doesn't have these issues. That's all I'm saying. Oh yeah, speaking of stories, to change the topic since I've just been on the same topic for a long time, and I might as well make a fucking video essay at this point, I don't know. I'm gonna be writing a second book soon. I didn't end up publishing Apotheosis, as I probably mentioned. I'm just letting it be a free thing anyone can read on Google Docs forever. Yeah, so I didn't publish it. It's just free to read online if you want. I'm probably going to record an audiobook with some voice actors. It's taken a while though, because it's hard to record voice actors. I'm not working for free anyways. But I might end up just recording it myself, like, and then doing the voice actor one later. Depends. I don't know. Because I could probably knock out reading that book in like a few days, maybe. It's just hard to find a good time to record. And obviously reading it outside isn't going to be a really good idea because I sort of need it on screen to be able to read. And I can't really do that easily outside. And obviously there's a lot of wind and other background audio going on here. I don't even know if this audio is going to be like usable when I re-listen to it. So there's that. And I don't know. I guess, like, yeah. So I'll try to get some kind of type of audiobook for it because I've noticed none of my friends are very, they're not the type of people who like to read. I think they might be illiterate. I don't think any of my friends can read. So there's that. Or they just find my book boring. There's that too. So, yeah, audiobook. That's a really good idea. I should get on that or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be writing a second book at some point. And something I'm still thinking about is if I'm going to, like, have each chapter be recorded as an audiobook as it releases. So more people can experience it as it comes out. Unlike Apotheosis, where I kind of just shove it in the writing chapters. It's like a huge, massive book. I don't have an audiobook. With Fried Liver and Dreamers, it still took a while to make audiobooks for them. Since they were really short stories, it wasn't too hard. Apotheosis is like 20 hours of recording. So that's going to be fun. I don't know how long I'm going to make this book either. I do have a lot of ideas though. I was inspired by One Punch Man. This next book I'm going to write. Man, I don't even have a name for this shit yet, but I have ideas brewing. I have ideas. Integral to the creation of this book so far has been drawing a hot vampire goth woman. That's been extremely integral. You wouldn't get it, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. Anyone who actually read my first book will know that I can write some pretty tough stuff. Like, it's not the shining example of best book ever made, but it's a pretty decent read. A lot of people got a lot of enjoyment out of it. Like, I don't know. I'm not really good with prose when I write, but I am good with, like, making enjoyable characters. And I'd say I'm pretty good at writing stories that have stakes. There's that, yeah. Because, like, Apotheosis had a lot of stakes of both kinds. Both stakes as in there's a lot of risk involved, but also stakes as in there's lots of meat. There's lots of meat. There's so much meat. More meat than you could ever swallow. It's very, very, yeah. Okay. So, I don't know. If you are interested in reading Apotheosis, I'll link the Google Doc in the description, I guess. Man. At some point, I also want to have like an actual Discord server dedicated to YouTube stuff. I mean, I tried making a few when I was younger, but it just kind of weren't very good Discord servers. Right now, I just run the Portal 2 modding server, which is pretty funny. And there's the Apotheosis server. I'd probably just use that one as a base. I don't know. For like the 5 people who will listen to the end, I guess. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering why I'm outside at all. Because, like, isn't that really bad for the health of gamers? Well, I've made it like a sort of like I think, was the weight that I curl with now, which is pretty good. I have a goal of getting below 200 pounds. I'm a bit of a big fatty, if you didn't know that. I'm 214 pounds, so I just need to lose like 14 pounds of weight, and I'll be below 200. I'll see what I can lose from there. I also don't just want to lose weight, but I also want to build a bit of muscle, Just all around, put some care and attention into my health. I think that's a good goal for 2026. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make a yapping session while going on a walk outside. I've been walking around. That's a pretty good workout. I also have been cooking some stuff that's pretty cool. I made a wheat pasta, this wheat pasta. I had some wheat juice in it, and I had grilled chicken and creamy mushroom soup. And it was a pretty damn good pasta. I can't lie. Another cool thing that I did was I had these whole wheat tortillas that I put tons of spinach and shit, and some tuna. It was spicy buffalo tuna. Man, that was good. Yeah. So, 2026 goal, be healthy. This is the first yapping session of 2026. So if anyone is listening to the end and has actually gotten this far, I think you should comment what your 2026 goals are. How are you going to make this year your year? Because I don't know, a lot of people, when it's a new year, they're like, oh, this year's going to be bad, just like all the other years. Life sucks! But I'm thinking, how am I going to make this year better than my last year? How am I going to improve myself and just improve my quality of living? So that's how I'm going to get healthier, lose some weight, go outside more, get some sunlight, and I also finished my first music album of 2026, which I'll also link in the description. I haven't been keeping up with actually posting the music to YouTube, so at my house I actually left my computer rendering the video for my album Astrophilia, and I also have to render a video for Secret Anaphobia. Those are my two albums that are unlinked on my YouTube. It's quite sad. Anyone who doesn't know I have a Bandcamp is missing out on so much good music. Something else I think that is a good idea to work on for 2026 is just being a kinder and better person. I don't know. There's a lot of toxicity on the internet. There's no reason to add more to it. Sometimes it's funny if both people know it's just a joke, but also sometimes it's easy to just get genuinely toxic. And I think that's a good idea to avoid. So I don't know. I'd like to hear from other people too. How are you going to make 2026 a better year than 2025? Because there's a lot of scary stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of danger in the world, a lot of scary stuff. And I don't know, I think it's important to try and make your own personal life a little bit better. Because you can balance out the scariness of the world by improving yourself and being as good a person as you can be and trying to enjoy life as much as you can. So I'm getting my college education. I'm going to be exercising more, going outside more. I'm going to be learning to drive. I got to learn how to pull onto the freeway and deal with traffic because I haven't had much practice driving with other cars. And I think those are some pretty good goals, some things to work on this year. And yeah, I might also try to post more yapping sessions. I mean, I didn't really have that much to talk about besides fucking ranting about revolution for a while, but you know what? I feel like just going on walks and randomly having yapping sessions while going on walks outside is a pretty good idea. It's stimulating for the mind. I might also start listening to stories and stuff while going on walks. That sounds like a good idea. I like horror podcasts, like Mr. Creeps. Go give Mr. Creeps a watch.